Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, production of iHeartRadio. And welcome to an episode that is very timely. So today, the date is October 2nd, 2025, as we record this. You can see our past episode that we did on crisis pregnancy centers, or CPCs, about this. And several episodes we've done with Bridget about abortion and tech. But yeah, we thought we would come back and do an update because things have changed since we first did that episode. But before we get into that, let's establish a definition of what we're talking about. According to Planned Parenthood, quote, crisis pregnancy centers, also called CPCs, unregulated pregnancy centers, or UPCs, or fake clinics, are clinics or mobile vans that look like real health centers. But they're run by anti-abortion activists who have a shady, harmful agenda to scare, shame, or pressure you out of getting an abortion and to tell lies about abortion, birth control, and sexual health. Most crisis pregnancy centers aren't legitimate medical clinics, so they don't have to abide by HIPAA and keep your information private, like most real healthcare providers do. These crisis pregnancy centers could even give your information to other anti-abortion organizations or use it to harass you. This could be especially concerning if you live in a state with anti-abortion laws. They're typically conservative and faith-based. They look like real clinics and a lot of times are purposefully located next to legitimate clinics or college campuses. Basically, they'll promise you all kinds of support in return for watching their educational and heavy quotes movies or lectures. And often it's all of it's a lie, like the movies, the lectures, the promise of supplies. None of it's true. And they will not help you get an abortion or birth control. While the staff present themselves as medical professionals, they dress like medical professionals. Many of them are anti-abortionist with zero training. They feed patients false information about how abortions lead to cancer. They show them these scary videos. They give them incorrect due dates because they want to stall those that come in looking for reproductive care so that they fall outside the legal abortion window or scare them out of pursuing it at all. The longer someone waits to get an abortion, the more risks there are of complications as well, health complications, as well as legal complications. Recent reports indicate that the centers outnumber abortion clinics 3-1, and those numbers probably need revising upwards. And they disproportionately impact Black women, low-income women, and teens who lack access. These groups are also the most likely to seek abortions, in part because of lack of access and healthcare cost. Lack of sex education is also a factor, in particular when it comes to young folks. On top of outwardly looking like an abortion clinic, they advertise low-cost ultrasounds and tests, which get a lot of people to come in. They also offer a sort of baby bucks system where you can earn points to buy things like diapers by going to Bible school or attending their classes. The people who run these clinics know that the U.S. has a deeply unequal healthcare system, and they use that to their advantage.
Right. And the numbers of these clinics only grew after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And this is according to The Guardian. There are now, quote, at least 2,500 CPCs as compared to just 765 abortion clinics in the U.S. And as more and more stories were coming out about women being forced to carry out fatal, doomed pregnancies after Roe was overturned, Republicans wanted to reframe the issue and show how much they, quote, cared about women's health with CPCs. Again, reminder, they do not have to have any kind of medical professional in there.
Nope.
So I'm not sure how that's going to help or show how they care. So it's kind of odd, but
yep.
You know.
Yep. And this got to the point that CPCs were featured in a crossover episode between Station 19 and Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, yes. I've seen it on several different other ones, too. Like, I feel like SVU may have featured it, or maybe it was Criminal Minds. It was something interesting. They do have a moment where they show where teenagers are being forced to have children and people's tactics in order to get them to force them to have babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
This was news to me. Okay. So this brings us to the updates, and I'm going to do this a bit differently than how I normally structure outlines, because this was the one that I started this outline. Normally I try to do it chronologically, but because all of this is happening at once, it wasn't going to work that way. So
Well, that's great because the whole thing is chaotic and they do this on purpose. They did this on purpose and it feels cyclical, but in out of order way. So that feels right, Anney.
Yeah, it does feel right. So we're going to go by like bullet points
Beautiful.
of updates.
Let's do this.
Okay. So first bullet point is that we, the American people, are funding these with our taxpayer dollars. While about 87% of funding comes from private donations, a disturbing amount comes from our government. Between 2017 and 2023, CPCs received federal funding upwards of $400 million, and that's according to a 2024 study. This money comes with little to no official oversight. In our state of Georgia alone, an annual $2 million in government funding goes to CPCs. This while pregnant people are dying due to delays in care or refusal to provide it. Between 2021 and 2024, 21 states also provided funding. Texas and Florida provide the most. Texas, by far, the most, like shockingly. It's huge, the gap. It's like,
I don't
whoa.
feel like that's shocking. I guess I'm just more shocked that the numbers for everybody else wasn't higher. If that makes
I guess I thought Florida would be closer to Texas.
Really? Nah.
But Texas, no. Far and away.
And it may have something to do with the fact that Mexico, they're on the border with Mexico, which does give a little more access to a few of people. That could be a whole different conversation that we have because Florida has Georgia, which is outlawed abortions as well. And you know, southern area is not doing well. Southeast area is not doing well. In general, I say crying in my own stuff. Okay. Yeah. And to be clear, even without our tax dollars, this is a $1 billion industry. But I do want to point out one thing. One of the reasons that we've brought this subject back is because in Gwinnett County, which holds a chunk of like refugees and immigrants, a large population of which, one of the Democratic leaders on their board actually voted to put in, I want to say around, $450,000 for specifically this type of programs. This is our Democratic people, by the way, and they did it very loudly and very proudly. So this is where we were like, wait, I thought we were finally I say this with like grimace, to a point where we understood this was fake and the people were understanding this was fake. Anyway, back to. So in 2022 alone, they racked in about $1.7 billion. However, they have not shown any recent significant increase in customers, despite tax filings showing their spending went up by 45%. Suspicious.
Yeah, pretty suspicious. And yeah, if you're wondering, there have been multiple instances of tax fraud, overbilling, and other criminal activities in CPCs. The government continues to block any legislation regulating or overseeing these CPCs, including laws aimed at protecting the privacy of adults and children, because it could have led to the closure of thousands of CPCs. So basically, people were trying to get this law passed that would protect people's privacy, but in doing so, it would have shut down these CPCs, and they didn't want the CPCs to be shut down.
Right, so. Because they want that information so they'll continue harassing women and those who can get pregnant. Interesting.
Yes. In fact, Project 2025, which, if you somehow blessedly don't know, was this whole thing that was like a super long document that Trump's people put together for when they were, right when he got elected, they were going to start doing.
And by the way, Trump just acknowledged it officially. Yeah, and is bringing in the person who helped create it to start doing things as the government is currently shut down.
Yes. Well, this document included a whole section on abortion data and reporting. Multiple states have introduced and sometimes passed legislations that would make abortion documents available to the public because they aren't health records, because it's not an actual medical facility, legalizing the collection and publishing of abortion data, labeling the abortion pill as a controlled substance and therefore trackable, and collecting data on pregnant folks. And they frame all these things through the lens of protecting women, of course. So there's that. Then, as recently mentioned, Google made about $10 million running ads for these fake clinics. From 2021 to 2023, CPCs ran about $10.2 million of ads on Google. Several people reported feeling tricked or misled by these ads. According to the Center for Countering Digital Hate, these ads were clicked on about 13 million times. About 40% of them contain the phrase abortion pill reversal, which is a completely fake thing that promises to reverse an abortion. Google also accepted grants from the CPC organizations.
I know people don't research things, but in what world do they think a reverse abortion? If they think abortion is killing babies, how does a reverse work?
Yeah, it's so depressing in a lot of ways because it's like we don't get the sex education. We don't have the...
That just feels like common sense, unless they're saying they're Jesus, as they believe, who can bring back the dead, supposedly, in which the rapture, by the way, has been redated to, I think, October 5th or 6th.
Oh, soon.
Maybe I'm wrong. I forgot. But it's something, and now it's in October. Anyway, going back to, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it is they're promising a miracle somehow of things that's not in existence.
Yeah. No, okay. Exactly.
So according to Jessica Valentia, the largest CPC network in the U.S., Heartbeat International, suffered a massive data breach in 2024. There are numerous reasons why this is incredibly dangerous right now. I think that's self-explanatory, but so from Ms. Magazine, HBI staff conducting online trainings on the next level client management software exposed UPC clients' personal information, including marital status, living situation, and a map showing where they live, and private health information, including date of last menstrual period, due date, pregnancy test, and ultrasound results.
Yeah.
There's so many bad things.
Yeah, no. I mean, and that's like, again, if you go in, they're trying to trick you. They're trying to make it look like they're a real clinic. And if you go in and you assume that, like a real clinic, there are these rules they're supposed to abide by regarding your privacy and your data, and they don't have to abide by them.
Right.
And the fact that, like, a map showing where they live.
Because if something were to go wrong, and this includes people who have health complications, and many of the people who can get pregnant, they have a miscarriage or some type of, for many, some type of something go wrong during their pregnancy, they can be immediately targeted as someone who may be accused of abortion and without being illegal. And as in fact, we've seen many of phrases being turned recently where they talk about baby found in closets or baby found in trash cans, and it turned out to be fetus that have been a miscarriage, and then people being charged. That's really terrifying.
Yeah. And I know, singing to the choir here, but just to, again, as someone who recently went to the hospital, they ask you, like, when was your last menstruation? That means so many different, that could mean a million things. Right. That's not really an indicator. I feel like even friends I have who are pretty regular still have irregularities sometimes.
I was never normal. Like, if there is such a thing, I'd never had this calendar thing everybody talked about. Like, oh, they kept calendars. I was like, for what? Like, it didn't make sense because I would be all over the board. Like, sometimes I felt like I was having it every other week. And of course, that's a bigger conversation about bigger problems that they don't talk about enough and they don't tell you is a problem.
Yes.
Face staring out into the world.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I've said before on here that the first time I went to the gynecologist, he told me, "You're pregnant." I was like, "No." And then I took another test and he told me, "Oh, you're pregnant." He's going to call my dad. I was crying. And I just now had a friend be like, "No, that's actually a thing, and he should have told you. It can mean all these other health issues, but instead,
he should have told you. He probably didn't know because he's not educated enough, because he doesn't, that women's health is not studied enough."
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, clearly this is both done to control people's bodies, but it's also done like it's coming from people who know nothing about it.
Right.
Like, so nothing.
And don't care enough.
No, not at all. Okay. Moving on to a different point than data collection. Stricter abortion laws and reduced access to the anti-abortion pill and health. This is a big thing. There is and has been a concerted push to eliminate abortion altogether, and a lot of it does rely on the same misinformation and disinformation these CPCs use. And as more and more abortion clinics shutter their doors, people, especially those who can't afford to travel elsewhere to where it might be legal, can grow more and more desperate. In Texas, for example, there are 0 abortion clinics and almost 200 CPCs. On top of that, pretty immediately after the 2025 U.S. presidential election, anti-abortionists were calling for the federal government to defund Planned Parenthood, which they recently pretty much did, encouraging states to defund any organization they didn't agree with and allowing them to strip Planned Parenthood of the ability to accept Medicaid, which a lot of people use. Well, we'll see. But at this point, and they said use that money instead for CPCs. And this could essentially force people with no other options into these CPCs. And we already know that we have one of the highest maternal death rates for a developed nation in the world, and that disproportionately impacts Black women. And this exacerbates all of that. Between 2019 and 2022, the maternal mortality rate in Texas went up by 56%. And as we know, some states are making it harder to collect that data at all. So I can't even get to that. And this has also led to a care crisis, a situation in which newly graduated medical students do not want to work in states with abortion bans because they could get in trouble. This is completely understandable, and it makes the healthcare gap worse. So... Yep. But, this has been a lot of doom and gloom. And I want to say, like, I did read from a lot of people who went into a CPC, and it was usually, they said it was the, free ultrasound or something like that. And they went in and felt so pressured and so angry when they learned what it was. But I'm very sad for the people who it took too long for them to realize this was a fake. But I am glad there were a lot of cases of people being like, no, that I knew it was not. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just something felt wrong about it. They weren't listening to me at all.
They were just arguing with me the entire time. Or I know I've seen several, like, where's your husband? Where's your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Have you talked to your boyfriend? We need to, I think they've had some ones that had required that either the boyfriend or a guardian have to be present with them.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and they rightfully were, again, furious and upset. And it just feels like, it just feels like it should be illegal. If I'm going into a place that's purposely trying to trick me that it is a legit medical place, that doesn't feel like it should be legal at all.
Right. But, well, we know we've seen, like, pharmacists who have refused to give Plan B, which is, by the way, a whole different conversation because it's not even as effective as it could be. as it should be. Anyway, but all that, and then like other actual healthcare providers providing to service. And then we know that small areas and hospitals, I know there was a rural one hospital, women's center that left their town, the only one accessible for like 50 miles around, and they could not do their job. So they left. And of course, the government, Georgia government, is blaming Medicaid and Medicare, oddly, which once again, Kemp has been very proudly talking about how he denied access or denied more funds from the Biden administration. And now they're cut completely because of the Big Beautiful Bill. So it's interesting. We know how this works, but because of things like that, but what is opening up are things like CPCs instead.
Yes. And again, like even before this, not everyone could afford, not everyone could travel.
Right.
And there's a rural healthcare crisis, has been for a long time. So this is only making things worse. There are attempts to push back. There's been a lot of them. I only have a few in here, but there are a lot. And that's from organizations and reporters, people doing this work and making sure we know about it, and some government officials. In May of 2024, New York Attorney General Letitia James sued 12 CPCs for deceptive marketing practices. In March of 2025, Hawaii's House of Representatives introduced a resolution to investigate whether or not CPCs were violating patients' rights to privacy, particularly by implying that they are covered by HIPAA, because some of them do imply it.
Yeah.
When they're not, and also by retaining and collecting patient data. And recent surveys indicate that 75% of those asked want CPCs to be regulated. This is one of the like beautiful, frustrating things I find a lot with so many of these issues, where I'm like, most people don't agree with all this.
Right. Like this is what I feel like we are in the state of politics. Like every time I see international level of like social media posts, and they're like, what is wrong with y'all? Talking to the US in general. And we get that from states that are blue to Georgia. Like, why would you let this happen? You voted for this. And we're like, no, we didn't. We didn't. The amount of gerrymandering, the amount of like unofficial routes of how things have happened in our elections and how like due process is completely out the window now. Like there's so many things that I'm like, why are y'all not understanding the bigger picture in this conversation about who is controlling what, and that the majority of people are really unhappy. There is a chunk of people who are blindly saying, yay, we're getting all these things done. And I'm like, yeah, nothing is showing that. Our economy is awful. Everything is increasing. The job market has gotten worse. All these numbers are showing we are not doing good. We are not doing well in general. And yet they want to, again, blame the whole when it's the whole that are like, no, but we didn't want this. We tried to fight this. I don't understand what is happening. And this is that same conversation with abortion too. For the last few years, probably the last, 10 years, people started to understand choice. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Choice to have a family, choice to try to do these things through surrogacy or through IVF, or choosing not to have children from jump by having better access to birth control, or actually having health care at the beginning to make sure everybody is safe so those who choose to can live a healthy life. This is amazing. Like it started going that way for about a split second. And then all of a sudden it just imploded. And I say all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden. It's been planned. It's been a planned attack that happened in a way that they had to first rig the system within. Like, I know I'm talking to our own people, but just in case, the international people who are like, what is wrong with y'all? Do tune in, because we have discovered we are internationally syndicated. Is that the word? Internationally published.
Broadcast.
Syndicated.
Yes.
Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Hey, Argentina sometimes listen to us. We found Brazil listen to us. Hey, South Korea listens to us because we got a few people. Anyway, back to. So all of these things are not something that we had any control of. What has happened is people have gotten money And the rich keep getting richer and using that rich funds in order to get things that they want done. And what they want done and who is getting rich are white men in general, like who give no fucks about anybody else. And the people who are sucking up to them think that they're going to be pulled up with them. And I say that for the people who are POCs as well as the marginalized. They don't understand. They're not going to pick us.
No. No.
They're going to use us and then dismiss us, whatever that looks like, how harsh that might look. And the first to go are those that are the most marginalized. Because it's easy. It's easy to do that. That has been in the playbook from jump. So when we say this was not our choice, a chunk of people, a chunk of the population, even in the state of Georgia, this is why we turned purple for us, like deep, deep purple, because we understood that. But once they realized that was giving the people too much power, they gerrymandered the hell out of it. And then they went back to the Supreme Court, which has been handed to a very conservative, right-winged group of people to undo all of those things that have brought a little bit of equity for us, including protecting our own health and body. Like that's just the bigger part. And we would love for people to understand the CPCs are not something that people would actually choose. I don't even think people who are conservative, pregnant conservative people would not go to them by choice. That's not a thing. People who are desperate is who are being sent there and then held pretty much captive.
Yeah, you're completely right. Nobody's going there by choice.
No. This is out of desperation, like because they're trying to find assistance. And I've seen many people actually talk about how they were promised car seats, how they were promised formula, how they were promised diapers, that afterwards that they could come back to them. But that turns out not to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Many cases. And of course, that's in general, like any system is really gross. Like WIC, which is for women and children and given to any and every person who has children. That could only last for what? 4 years?
Yeah, I think so.
It's very short. It's very short.
Not long.
And all you can get is milk and diapers. Like it's such a small amount of things that you can get, and it has to be approved. It has to say WIC approved. Like the amount of like desperation that we as a society have been in, even before this, has been appalling. And so that they're trying to rip away even more from the most destitute of people is what's most horrifying. And the CPCs have popped up and have been giving hundreds of thousands of dollars per county when that's not what people need.
Nor what they want.
Exactly. This is an act of hostage. We, the people who are able to be pregnant and are marginalized, are being held hostage within our government. Like, I don't know how else to put that. But you're right. There's still good things happening. Again, the majority of us do not believe in this. But we've seen protests happen, and I hope, and that's always been kind of like, of course, the bigger protests are the anti-abortion people, anti-choice people who come in front of abortion clinics, which actually have to be so heavily regulated, and they get no funding.
Yeah.
That is unreal. But the CPCs, there are those who are out there trying to talk about the truth about what is happening and who they are. Like the amount of pushback that counselor got, I believe she was a city councilor, for allowing that, going against the people who voted for her. And they were very loud about that. That's what brought attention to some of this conversation, is people were very loud about, what are you doing? So at the very least, at least we can hold our own accountable, which we will, which is part of the problem, is the other side doesn't care. But anyway, there are some things, I think, trying to find the brighter side in a very icky, yucky moment. There is still people who are loud about the fact that they do see so much wrong with the system.
Yes. Yes. And we would love if you listeners have any people we should shout out or organizations we should shout out when it comes to this. Please let us know. You can email us at hello@stuffnonevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube, and we have new merchandise at Cotton Bureau, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.